Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and upline is due to Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach Malak Yahushai. Secondly, Brother Yardan, WFI Detroit coming back at you with yet another cold cut. Now, before I dive into this video, I want to give a warm salute, a warm welcome to the men, women, and children that are laboring day in and day out, that are scattered throughout the four corners of this world, pursuing to James 1:1, and that you're laboring by praying, fasting, studying, reading, bringing forth fruit meet for repentance, and presenting your body as a sacrifice before Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai daily. And with that being said, I want to dive into the video, which is Dismantling Islam, Volume 3. Now, the title may change, but understand that the purpose of this is for the education of Israel that is lost and find themselves in a dark place in this world. And false religions is a sense of darkness because there's no light in it. Because we understand, pursuant to John 14:6, that Yahushua is the way, the truth, and the light. This word is a lamp, right? Pursuant to Proverbs 6:23. And so, Lord willing, you will be pulled out from that darkness into the marvelous light, like it reads in Ephesians 5:8. So with that being said, I want to touch on a few things that I've been studying going through the Spirit, which revolves around Islam, because our people, a vast majority of our people, find themselves in the world and captured and enamored by the religion and the philosophy of Islam, which is entirely false, which of course will be proven today through the Spirit. But I want to begin that with the book of Surah 29:46, and I have it before us as well. And it reads, "Do not argue with the people of the book." And I want to pause because everything has to be deconstructed. The people of the book refers to the Israelites, and or if you were to ask Muslims, Christians. "Unless gracefully accept with those of them who act wrongfully and say, we believe in that which has been revealed to us and what has been revealed to you." All right, so if you find yourself being a Muslim, don't jump in the comment boards and start tick-tapping and typing away. Don't be a keyboard warrior, all right? We're out there in the highways and byways. We've been doing this for a plethora amount of years, edifying our people. We're studying history, geography, etymology, typology, and everything in between. So don't get comfortable behind the keyboard. If you got something to say it to our face. Otherwise, don't, pursuant to your book, thus saith your God. Reading on, which is also a false truth, I suppose you can call it that, where it reads, "Our God and your God is only one, and to him we fully submit." That's a lie. And I'll explain with understanding Isaiah, the 14th chapter, which is prophecy, Isaiah being an Israelite. And in the prophecy of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, it touches on the Israelites having dominion over the nations. That includes the sons of Ishmael, which would be the Ishmaelites or the modern day Arabics. And so I highly doubt that the God of the Arabics, Allah, will permit the Ishmaelites, the Arabics, to be subjugated to payments and other certain duties that are fit for servants. So with that, I want to dive into Surah chapter 10, verse 94. Now, there are a few things that I will bring out from the Quran and as well as the Hadith. Knowing that not every Muslim ascribes to the Hadith, it'll still be brought out because that's the whole kit and caboodle, to be honest. And it does contain the writings and the actions of Muhammad through witnesses. And I'll go as far as to say, which is the truth, that the majority of Muslims do believe in the Hadith, right? If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, specifically Sunni. So with that, it reads, "If you, O Prophet, are in doubt about these stories that we have revealed to you, then ask those who read the scriptures before you." Those before you is again referring to the Israelites and or Christians at the time. Mind you, they have full knowledge of their history and their culture. Despite 70 AD, we still retained our knowledge and wisdom. We weren't just completely Americanized after 70 AD. It didn't work like that. It took time for us to lose our heritage and our culture and our ways. So again, then ask those who read the scriptures before you. Now the words are going to bleed off the screen, but nevertheless, this is something that you can search up yourself. But trust that I'm reading this correctly. The truth has certainly come to you from your Lord, so do not be one of those who doubt. So don't be one of those who doubt, because the scriptures, or those who read the scriptures before you, are the Israelites. And what they say is the truth. So if we say Isaiah 14:10 and Revelation 13:10 will come to pass, you better believe it. Thus saith your book. And if you doubt, you doubt in your God. So, I mean, these are things you have to deal with. You got to deal with the beating of the verses from your own book as well as the scriptures. Now, an important fact to bring out is that during the beginning of Islam, which dates around 7th century or late 6th century, you had a collection of writings, the manuscripts referred to as the Codices Abyronosius, and I'll pull it up. The Codices Abyronosianae, if I'm spelling that correctly. The Codices Abyronosianae are 5 biblical manuscripts dating to the 6th, 7th century CE. They reside in Biblioteca Ambrosina in Milan. They are written by 2 different authors and uses different alphabets. The Codices contain scattered passages from the Old Testament, Nehemiah, and the New, including parts of the Gospels, which is important later in this video, right? But it does contain the book of Matthew as well as the crucifixion, which will tie into the next point. But with that being said, it is important to understand that the Jews did have this literature. They did have the Syriac language and as well as the writing. So again, just in general, they didn't lose their entire culture and heritage, within that century. We still understood who we were. We were still keeping the commandments, a large portion of us. Don't forget that we ruled during the Dark Ages. So to let you know that we didn't completely lose our culture in a time span of which you thought. So point number 4 in the Quran. Let's see, I believe it is the Surah 4 and 34. Let's read it. Men are the caretakers of women, as men have provisioned by Allah over women and tasked with supporting them financially. And righteous women are devoutly obedient and, when alone, protected of what Allah has entrusted them with. And if you sense ill conduct from your woman, advise them first. So ill conduct, and you can ask a Muslim and they can say, well, is this, is that? Ill conduct is moving out the spirit. It's behaving disorderly, contrary to that what the husband has ordained in the house and set. So ill conduct from your woman, advise them first. So advise means to speak to, give counsel perhaps, give wise words, encourage, a recommendation of what should be done. So advise them first. If they persist, if that spirit doesn't go anywhere, do not share their beds. And that's PG for saying don't sleep with them. Because what happens in a bed, we understand that a bed is undefiled, right? So in a way, you're defiling the bed for multiple reasons, according to the scriptures, because in Hebrews, it reads this. I believe Hebrews 10 and 4, or 13 and 4, it's like here. Hebrews 13 and 4. Let's read it. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4. And it reads, marriage is honorable in all things, and the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. Right? And we can also righteously extrapolate that when you're not laying with your wife in the bed, then that's madness. That's not what was ordained of thus saith the Lord. See, we believe in something called, some refer to as dictation theory, whereas the Most High, or where the Most High gave all the words into the prophets, and the prophets wrote it down. That goes with men mentioned in the New Testament, such as Peter and Paul. So the verse that I'm bringing out is 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter, which so happens to be written by Paul. And it reads in verse 5. I'll start at verse 4. For the wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband. And likewise also, the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife. Does this mean that they get to beat each other up and do whatever they want with each other? That's not the message behind this writing. That's not the point. That neither is that the tone. But the context is this in verse 5: defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent, meaning when two agree together, two parties are on the same accord, right? That's Sirach 25:1. That's beautiful, found beautiful before the Most High God. That ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your inconsistency. Let's come together again and do what? Play Monopoly? Play Connect 4? Hopscotch? The Price is Right? Let's land together. But also, I should have started at verse 3 where it reads, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. So when you're not rendering due benevolence, right, for a certain period of time, it's going to turn into spirits. It's going to invite spirits. So all this goes back to the Surah. Where are we? Surah 4:34. And if you sense ill conduct from your woman, advise them first. If they persist, do not share their beds. But if they still persist, then discipline them gently. So what does that mean? Now, in other versions, I read that it meant strike them. Now, this also is what you call a two birds, one stone, because this is a different translation. This is a different version, if you will. See, it says strike them lightly. Yes, that's what it says. And advise, what did it say? The other one said, discipline them gently. What does that mean? What does discipline gently mean? Isn't advise kind of discipline? Discipline them how? In what way? Where are the parameters? What can't you do? How do you define discipline? What does discipline mean? If I say, hey, I'm going to discipline my kid, hey, that should kind of, open some doors in your mind, right? Control, regulate, train, drill, rule, authority. We know what discipline means. Let's be honest. We're not fools. We're not 2 years old. All right, here's another. Why are there two different versions? What's happening? I thought all the Quran was the same. Why does one says, then discipline them gently, and the other says, finally strike them lightly? Now, I had a buddy of mine, a fellow Israelite. He went into a little bit deeper, and he found out and discovered that this word strike in the, where are we? This word strike is the same word in another verse where it's speaking about going to war. So, you can say, well, which verse? Which, show me the Quran. Well, you know the Quran. You find out. You figure it out. That doesn't take away from that you can strike your wife. But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them. What does that mean? A lot of threatening being done. So you can say, well, no, strike, no, something smaller than your finger, something like a feather. Hey, come on now. A strike is a strike. It's getting the WWE in the bedroom or in the house. You're getting real sick. So, I mean, if that's your cup of tea, you will love Islam. You'll have a lot of justifications. And you can't get on me either. If my wife cries out and says my husband strike me, I go, hold up. What did Allah say? That's all I can say. What did Allah say? You can't do nothing about it. You got to deal with it. But again, this is only if you're in Islam and you find yourself to be a Muslim. As for the next, it is found in the Hadith. So, some can say, well, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got stronger Hadiths, weaker Hadiths. Well, you tell me if this is a strong or weak one. Based off of what, though? Tell me why it's weak. Tell me why it's strong. If you find yourself vehemently, fervently on fire in the name of Allah, you got to break down why this is a strong and or a weak Hadith. Because we got to get some understanding. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some edification that needs to be, shown. Maybe I'm ignorant to something. Maybe you can show me something. I can say, okay, Khan, I get it. That's a good point. But, I mean, at the moment, I don't know what's happening in this verse. This is from Bukhari. Matter of fact, who is Bukhari? Abu Abd Allah Muhammad ibn, I'm not reading all of that, was a 9th century Persian Muslim who is widely regarded as the important Hadith scholar. In the history of Sunni Islam, al-Bukhari extant works included the Hadith collection Sahih al-Bukhari, al-Tarikh, al-Kabir, so on and so forth. Born in Bukhara in the present Uzbekistan, al-Bukhari began learning Hadith at a young age. He traveled across and you got the entire history of the Hadith. You can say, well, hold up, read this, read that. No. I mean, the Hadith is already there. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Why does it say what it says in Hadith? For those who believe in Hadith. And if that's wrong, then you got to explain why it's a weak Hadith. So again, let's dive into it. The Prophet, in his ailment in which he died, used to say, "Oh, Aisha, we'll get to Aisha soon. All right? Don't leave. Don't report. We'll get to Aisha soon. I still feel the pain caused by the food I ate at Kabir. And at this time, I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison." Why is this important? What is the significance of his aorta being cut? Here they are trying to justify it. So this is what happens to a false prophet. This is the surah, or you can read, right? Al-Haqaq, whatever. 6944. Had the messenger made up something in our name, we would have certainly seized him by his right hand, then severed his aorta. And how did Muhammad die? The Prophet, in his ailment in which he died, used to say, O Aisha, I still feel the pain caused by the food I ate in Kabir, and at this time, I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison. So he died the way that a false prophet was, supposedly. Now you can say, well, hold up, that's not what it say. Read more. So I can't. God. We gotta get to the bottom of this. Now we're moving towards Aisha. Okay. Now this is also in the Hadith, so you can say, well, hold up, it's not this and not that. Still need to explain it. The Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9-year-olds. So he married this 9-year-old woman. Now, we asked some Muslims, maybe a week ago or two, we asked them, okay, if I wanted to marry a 9-year-old, am I considered a pedophile? They said, yes, of course you are. Shame on you. Yes, yes, yes. Go to jail. I said, well, hold up. If I find myself to be a follower of Muhammad, and he married a 9-year-old, is he considered a pedophile? They said, no, that's different. I said, why is it different? They said, well, he's the prophet. I said, so the prophet doesn't have to be labeled a pedophile because he's a prophet. Yet if I want to move in the spirit of a prophet, I'm going to be labeled a pedophile. That means I can't be like the prophet in any way, shape, form, or fashion, or in at least this particular form. Now all of a sudden I'm a pedophile, but he's not. And suffice it to say, they were cut to the heart. Couldn't say too much. They got a bit riled up, but that's what it says. I didn't write the Hadith. We didn't write the Hadith out there. All right. Let's get another one. Ali Imran 3 and 7. What does this say? It is he who has sent down to you, O Muhammad, the book. In it are verses that are precise. They are foundation of the book, and others unspecific. As for those in whose heart is deviation from the truth, they will follow that of it which is unspecific, seeking discord and seeking an interpretation suitable to them. And no one knows its true interpretation except Allah, but those firm in knowledge say, we believe in it all. We believe in it. All of it is from our Lord, and no one will be reminded except those of understanding. So there are certain things that are unspecific, meaning you won't know because it's too vague for one to understand. And where the issue lies is that this contradicts the Surah 6 and 114, where it reads, say, O Prophet, should I seek a judge other than Allah, while he is the one who is revealed for you in the book, with truth perfectly explained? Those who are given the scriptures know that it has been revealed to you from your Lord. So how can something be perfectly explained, yet unspecific? I mean, that statement, he already said that not everybody's going to know except Allah. Maybe Muhammad knows it all except for everybody else and Allah, but I mean, these things aren't adding up. The math isn't mathing, as they say. So I want to end with one more. This is one that always gets me, that confounds me. You have something referred to as the sacred black stone, a jewel from paradise. All right. Now you can say, well, what website? How you know? Relax. Hold your horses. All right. Be stable. The black stone, and I'm gonna back this up with the Quran as well, and or really the Hadith. Either way, I have sources. is a reversed stone from paradise. It's like a revered stone from paradise, brought down by the angel Gabriel, or as they call him Gabriel, but it's Gabriel, to become most honored part of the Kaaba. Abdullah ibn narrated that the Prophet said the black stone descended from paradise. The black stone is most revered stone on the face of the earth, and most honored part of the sacred house. This is why it is prescribed to kiss and touch. Hold on. This is why it is prescribed to kiss and touch it, and to place one's cheek and forehead on it. Its location is on the eastern side of the second Yemeni corner, which is southeast, and its height is from the ground is 1.5 meters. It is not possible to describe it fully now because what is visible and can be touched and kissed are only 8 small pieces of varying sizes. All right. Now, what does this stone do? What is the significance? Yeah, it came from paradise, but I mean, what is it? Where does it hold? Does it have abilities? Does it have powers? Okay, so that's what it looks like. All right, what is this virtue? Let's read it. The virtue of the black stone and its reverence. The black stone is the most honored stone on earth, or originating from paradise. Abdullah ibn narrated that the Prophet said the black stone descended from paradise, and it was whiter than milk, but the sons of Adam made it black. He also narrated that the Prophet said by Allah will raise it on the day of resurrection, with 2 eyes by which it sees and a tongue that speaks, testifying to those who touch it. Touching and kissing the black stone holds a great virtue. Narrated by this guy, Prophet said touching the black stone in the Yemeni erases sins. So, you can say, well, no, that's a false hadith. That's not true. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of things that's not adding up. Why are millions upon millions of Muslims going to the Mecca to touch it? Is that idolatry? To touch a stone and believe that it can erase sins? If this is false, you got to stop believing the hadiths. And if this particular hadith is false, that means you have different versions of the telling of Muhammad. But in the same breath, Muslims would argue there's different versions of the Bible. There's different versions. Therefore, it's not true. People are going to make different versions of anything, right? But even with the Bible, even different versions doesn't take away the overall message and the tone and the point. You understand? Right? The Gospels, they all have their so-called perspective or their eyewitness testimony of what happened. But it doesn't take away the overall tone, the message, and the point of why Christ is on the scene. It doesn't take it away. You can read it front to back. It doesn't. You can't say, okay, this was completely different than the point and the message and the tone of why Christ came on the scene than the book of Matthew. And John differs from Luke, and Luke also differs from Matthew. Oh, don't forget about Mark. You can't separate the two. They're just testimonies, eyewitness testimonies, for the most part, giving an account of what they've seen through the Spirit. Whereas the hadith, this is completely contrary to other hadiths, if you consider it to be false. It's completely contrary to that of the Quran because it only states that Allah can forgive and take away sins. So, I need some understanding. And again, if I'm ignorant or something, say, well, look, brother Yaradan, you're ignorant. You need some more understanding. You can say that, fine, right? But at the moment, I'm only reading what's in the hadith and what millions upon millions of Muslims believe in. And if these millions and millions of Muslims believe in it, that means surely they must die by blasphemy, by the judgment of blasphemy. That means they worship this. To believe if you have to touch something and it takes away your sins, that's a form of idolatry. Last time I checked. So with that, I'm a bit Israel Shalom, Abaratazah. Israel has been edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. That was Dismantling Islam under 30 minutes.